to play with
What's
each
the situation with Tua? So he
That's what we got to talk about. I mean, that
so
was
the game
That
prior.
was fucking scary.
Bro, that was
man.
wild,
I hate when
bro. I know.
Anytime you see that shit when the dude goes
Bro, his
catatonic
hands
like
and
that,
stuff.
it's just like
I watched
yeah,
purely
it's
for that
fucking
moment.
Creepy.
I purely watched for that. And people say it's fucked up. They're like, why would you say? When it happened, I was like, that's awesome. And people are like, why would you say that? I watch UFC where people literally get knocked unconscious. Worse than that, and everybody's just like, yeah, that's like awesome. But then it happens in football. They're like, oh, it's so bad because it's become so like mainstream, and the NFL needs to do that. But like people that should like, then you're watching people get brain damage. Like, what are you talking?
I think the biggest thing with the Tua thing is last week the NFL saying he had a back and shoulder.
he wanted to
injury.
play.
I get
wanted to
that,
play.
but
That's what-
motherfuckers got to step in. Someone needs to step in and be like,
Yeah.
bro, if you got if fucking I don't know whoever the fuck gets knocked out this weekend in the UFC, he can't just play 4 days later.
I agree. If the argument is it's from like a actual like strategic like longevity of the player, like throwing the talent type situation, like long costs, then yes, I agree. I hate that it turns into this thing that like the NFL is this evil organization that's trying to exploit players. Like, no, you play a game where you are going to get
They absolutely exploit these fucking players.
No,
dude.
no,
Are you
no, no,
fucking
no,
shitting
no,
me?
absolutely
You're telling
not.
me you're telling me
No,
the NFL doesn't exploit players, bro?
They exploit in the dynamic that any employee, employer and an
Yeah, of
ownership.
course they're not the only ones to do it, but it's like
But
again.
these players.
First of all, the NFL operates as a non-profit. I think we might have spoken about this before.
but that's
I
not
think.
an NFL issue. That's the government and the rules. If they're able to structure their business,
You're
that
telling
way,
me that Miami doctor who just got fired the other day, you're telling me if that was any other job and that if Tua was a fucking construction worker and he got hurt like that, that guy would have sent him back to work 4 days later? There's no
if
fucking
the
way.
doctor works for the same company that is doing it, there's a conflict of interest. I 100% agree. But I think that what gets removed from it is the idea that this is football. This is a combat sport. This is going to take time off your life. If you're
Sure.
it's going to impact your brain health, and you're taking a large risk to earn a large amount of capital. You can be the best in the world. You can be a celebrity. You can be a leader of nation. Like you can really be more than you could ever be, and probably anything else. And there's a risk involved. The NFL has issues, surely, but a guy getting knocked out like that is awesome. Like the defensive player should be looked up. Like he should be everywhere. Like what a fucking stud.
He didn't even.
Slam his
Well,
mother-
here's the thing. He didn't even really.
He
It
launched.
was kind of an innocuous. No, he kind of whipped him down and he
Right.
fell. But
And
here's the
used the
thing.
ground to
Here's the
make
thing.
his fall.
Here's
That
what
was awesome.
here's where the problem comes in is the NFL is continuously fining players for hits like that.
Well, talk about
They're-
affecting the game. That's a totally different. Absolutely.
You're throwing flags on guys for hits like that. You're saying you're trying to make the game safer, and then
I
you
would
have
push back. I would
superstars.
push back and say-
then you have superstar like you got the stars of the game where it's just like, we don't want to go into the game without this guy playing, and you're trying to you're promoting all this player safety, and then you just throw a guy in like that. That's where that's where I think everyone's having the issue with it is you're constantly taking money out of players' pockets, and that's where the players get.
This
pissed
guy's
off.
been openly concussed. He was obviously concussed twice in 5 days in front of the entire country.
Well, the first time is the question as to what were his symptoms when he spoke to the doctor. If this man walked into a room and says, "I can do X, Y, and Z. I'm good. I want to play. I'm going out for my city. I'm going out for my team. I feel fine to play."
They're all gonna say.
They're all gonna say,
And I get that. And I get
They're
that.
all
And
gonna say that.
and they're going to say that because they are bred and molded into the most. And yes, you need external people that look out for your interests. That say,
But the thing
you're
with-
not okay. But also, he's a man. If he wants to play, and now how much did they use their power to? I understand, but boy, he wants to play. Let him play. I mean, and the idea that we remove these ideas, and I agree with what you're saying, is it has become pussified, to use like a scientific term, where in which because of mainstream appeal and because of children and mostly because of women and
No,
men,
it's not because of that. It's players that have been pushing.
Definitely women.
It's play-
What are you
no,
kidding
it's not
me?
because of that. I'm sure that
NFL,
plays a
They're
NFL,
trying to make the
yeah,
game safe
they're
enough for
trying-
women to play.
no,
That's
not
what
to play. They're
doing
trying to
here.
they're trying to make it.
You got to realize with the NFL, when you could play Tom Brady has been in the league for 23 years now. He's been an employee with the NFL for 23 years. The day he retires, after 5 years from the day he retires, he doesn't have health insurance. So you gotta factor shit like that in.
What do
Now,
you mean
granted,
that doesn't have health insurance?
he doesn't have
though?
health insurance
But
for the rest of his life. The
but
league isn't going to cover
That's
him.
a play on words for the point that you are.
It's not a play on words. It's a fact.
No, it's a fact he's not entitled to health insurance, surely. but he is compensated so vastly in his in what he's-
Sure,
that
but Tom Brady is like, okay, no, just go down
any
like
player,
go to the guy on the
any
practice
play-
squad.
exactly.
The practice
or
squads
a
have
guy who's going to play 4 or 5
They
years
have
in the league.
NFL player associations. They have built-in retirement plans. They have built-in, if you pay into it, you're guaranteed a minimum salary of $400,000 if you're the lowest level idiot. These same dynamics exist in a lot of male fields where high performers, if it's the military, it could be a construction worker. If you're able to be a high performer, you can earn a lot of money. And that is what men are able to leverage, is the fact that and at the highest level, there are dozens of millions of dollars at stake. Now, should he have played in week 4? Does this team, the coaches, there's definitely a scientific, an actual strategic answer to what's the trade-offs here. And his health should be part of that equation. But the idea that his health is up the most important thing no. If they determine that we need our starter, that we're paying this fucking 30 whatever million contract to go out there and play,
Bro, that's insane.
and if we give him the free will to test
it's
that,
a brain injury. It's a fucking brain injury. Dude, your judgment isn't the same when you're concussed,
then
bro.
who owns the right to make the decision for that player?
Well, you see it. It's like the NFL
bad,
is supposed to fucking hire third-party fucking doctors, and obviously this guy. What I'm saying is all these doctors are supposed to be third-party people, and they just fired this guy. Don't tell me there's not pressure on these third-party doctors by the teams, coaches, and players themselves.
In the military, the doctors that review your shit work for the military. You know how many times they don't give you an MRI. They just give you physical.
Sure.
They fuck you because they're built in the system.
Sure.
So I understand how that power dynamic will always lean towards the NFL and how it's going to exploit players, for sure. I more so said, broadly speaking, we've tried to safety this game, and it's just so comical to me that a lot of same consumers who would watch him get slammed, like, oh my God, this is so evil. There's a dude who gets knocked out in the second round, gets knocked back into consciousness, goes back to his stool, doesn't know where the fuck
but
he is,
see, there's
goes into the
options.
third round and wins the fucking
But there's
fight.
also technical knockouts in combat sports. You can get TKO'd where a ref could just stop the fight and say
course.
you're done. In the NFL, it seems like that doesn't exist.
No, but it definitely. There's plenty of examples.
It's supposed to, but it seems like it
sat
doesn't.
A lot of players, and there's been a lot of players who have been held back from playing in situations.
Of course they have.
And this was a misstep in the other direction. I think there's times where players want to play and they don't let them. And I think it's a player that wanted to play and probably someone should have. Could you have forecasted that he was going to get whiplash and backwards slammed into the ground? I think that would be considered an 20% chance, 30. That was not the fact that he was gonna take a head on. There's ways that
Yeah, but the thing is, when you're concussed, if you get concussed right now, you're more likely to get concussed tomorrow or in the you got to remember, this was a Sunday afternoon game. It was the first time, and then a Thursday night game. That's 5 days.
I hear you. And
then if you want to look at it from a standpoint, selfishly as a fan, it's like there's going to be a massive overreaction to this. As far as there's going to be guys now that are going to be hitting games and they're probably not going to be fucking concussed, and people are going to be telling them to sit the fuck down.
That's my problem.
And there's going to be an but the root of the problem here is the league. It's like it's always with this shit.
Softening.
No, they're not. They're not doing their job in the fucking first place, which causes the fucking overreaction. You're right. They're going to soften, but they're softening as a reaction. They always do this. They always fucking do this. They always overreact to problems they weren't handling correctly in the first place.
You're right.
Because of public pressure.
Yeah, I agree.
It's always the case with the NFL. I guarantee you that, because you see it, it's like Tua's not playing this week, and when he comes back, it's going to be this huge thing. The league the NFL backed themselves into this problem. They have no one to blame except themselves. They have created this fucking problem.
And racism.
They've created this problem.
It's the same thing.
You
They're just
know?
like, we're not racist. We're going to make everything anti-racist.
It's always they create these problems. The domestic violence. It's over and over and over again. The NFL creates these fucking problems,
You're right.
and then it's an overreaction.
I agree. And and I wouldn't say it's because of women that it's become this way. It's everything. Everything has become. Well, no, it really has. Everything.
You wouldn't say that? That's right.
Nah, I would say that actually. I stand by it. I wanted to bring it back up to circle back and say that it's happened to a lot of things in society. And like I said, my point. You're right. They mismanaged it, but I would argue that even this situation maybe necessarily wasn't mismanaged. But because of prior infractions, they're now going to be even worse. I agree. But also, will this be considered, and just the society and everything will be like, this was a failure by, Miami leadership and the doctors and everything? Or is this one of the situations like some other situations where it's like, actually the facts don't agree with your narrative, but it's just so good that you want to run with it? And that happens with a lot of things everywhere. So I think, should he have been able to play? there was we have to investigate what the doctor's like testings were. But if he tested out normal, what is there really?
Sure, well, that's true, but it's like I think you also got to realize, like, I feel like the thing, like, that was a huge thing with all the, especially after the Junior Seau thing, and everyone was pretty much saying, like, you can't put pressure on these players, like, it should be out of their hands. And okay, that's fine. If you're gonna do that, that's fine. But it's like, you can't tell me, like, a team doctor, like this guy there is absolutely pressure on this guy where it's like, say if he said Tua, you can't play. He says Tua's not playing this Thursday. He's not clearing him for the concussion thing.
Yeah.
Say he said this is before Sunday. He does it for the next 3-4 weeks.
He's not the doctor next
But Tua's screaming. Dude, he's not the doctor next week. Tua's screaming, saying, "I'm ready to fucking play. I'm ready to." He didn't get through this week. You know what I mean? So
well, that's because of
yeah, but what I'm saying is, like, he
play.
won't have a job, and they'll just find someone that'll do it.
I agree.
Especially in Florida. You go down to Florida, you can just
Yeah.
walk into a clinic and get OxyContin, for Christ's sakes. I don't know. I just think, like, I look at it, it's like, again, I'm a fan of, dude, the first sport I fell in love with was boxing, and I love mixed martial arts, but, like, seeing someone get knocked out like that, I don't like seeing that shit, bro. And I get it. It's part of the game. It happens. And listen, severe concussions happen like that, and you just don't. They happen like that all the time, and you just don't see it the way you saw it, that. I mean, dude, how many times does
he was like in the fencing
bro? That was
position.
fucked. It's just uncomfortable to think back on. You know what I mean?
That's
and
awesome.
I'll say another thing.
That's awesome. The defense. I gotta find the guy who did it because
it's gross.
It's not gross. It's you say that, but when when a safety comes down hard and knocks a guy's fucking block off,
sure, I love it. But I don't need to see someone.
If he dies in the
sure, like,
if he dies in the process, I understand all the negativity that comes with that. I'm not here for his family. I'm not here for this guy's livelihood. I'm here to be entertained.
fucking Ivan Drago.
Yeah, I know.
I'm not rooting for it. I'm just saying the idea that where's your
If he
line?
dies, he dies.
It's that he wishes he could go back to the gladiator days back.
I
in
watch
Greece
UFC and
fucking-
watch people get.
I get it.
I
You know
love
what
seeing
mean?
someone get. And if they were to die in that moment, it would create gravity in the situation that you witness something so beyond. And now I don't want it to happen, but also, I don't. I'm too rest up, homie. But like. You're the defensive player. You're a stud. You just drilled a man into the earth and put him in.
Listen, I mean, there was
That's
two guys.
awesome.
It was
That
two
guy.
guys.
Like, that's what you train for.
It was two guys. It was two guys doing their job. It happens, unfortunately. You know.
Respect to both of them. They're warriors. That's what you go out there and
happens.
do. Like, go out in your shield. Like, it ain't like when you get put in the cart. And I had the Dolphins, the Jets in a dog parlay, dude. I was heartbroken when I was like, this is like you're watching something that's a unique. Unfortunate, but still, like that's what sometimes provides the beauty and the poetry to the game. This is a life and death.
It's a ruthless game.
It's
Yeah,
a
it's a
ruthless,
game.
heartless, fucking
there's
cold
no doubt
game.
about that.
These
Listen.
motherfuckers are out there playing. So the idea that it's like this isn't basketball, this isn't baseball, this is fucking. You're putting your fucking real livelihood on the
Without a
risk.
doubt.
So
That's
That's why
is true.
it cracks me up whenever I see women talking about playing
Exactly.
in the NFL. I don't know if you remember a couple years ago when the girl from the women's soccer team kicked a field goal at the Eagles practice facility. What's her name? Abby Morgan or something like that.
Abby Wambach.
Alex,
No,
Alex Morgan.
Something Morgan. She's from the Philly area. She kicked a field goal unguarded at the Eagles practice facility, and they were like, it all came out. It was like, is it time for women to break into the NFL? And it was like, no.
If that was a woman, if Tua was a girl,
Propaganda.
if Tua was a woman, I would be still weeping. It would be like I would be so distraught. I would never in a billion years. I watch UFC women's fighting, and I wouldn't feel comfortable if a woman got put in some real like rigor mortis shit. I don't like that. But like I said, that's the thing about football. And I don't mind the refs being women. That's fine. But this I think that one of the things that's really removed, and this is a great. It reminds people in society of this is what the fuck this is. And it is what it is.
Yeah, but it's not gonna listen. It's when the league doesn't do their job in the first place and things like that happen, that shit goes away.
And from a strategic and a health and all those things, like yes, there is a responsibility, a duty to your players and everything.
Yeah, bro, it's fucked. It's like, dude, I watched an interview with Warren Sapp like a month ago, and he was talking about how he only gets like the health insurance for 5 years after he's out of the NFL. And then he talks about trying to get health insurance as someone who's had like 10, I think he had like 10 or 11 documented concussions, where it was like he missed games or like he was on an injury, documented. And then he's like, how many concussions? Then the guy asked him, he's like, how many concussions do you think you had in your career? And he's like, I couldn't even keep track. And it's like, that's the case for like a lot of these guys, like a giant chunk of these guys.
And I know that, you know, if I was the same situation,
And I think the NFL owes them something for that.
they didn't. This is the thing, and I understand this is kind of just like a, you know, what about like kind of trade off in the NFL to say, well, this, but they are compensated so highly. I understand that they need people on their sides to help invest their money, but if you have 6 Lambos, it's hard for you now at 45, and I understand where that comes from, and I would be the same way. But that's part of like if you're making insane, and Warren Sapp, I don't know how much did he make in his career. I mean, we're talking about, and right, it's hard to find healthcare, but that's why you have to plan and have those things in line because. And what other career do we say? Oh, your employee, like they owe you this, they owe you that. Like at the end of the day, you got paid so much, you have to be able to use it. Like that's, you know.
Yeah, but a lot of these guys don't get paid as much. Like the average career in the NFL is 3.5 years. That's the average career. It's like the thing I'm saying is like this isn't like not everyone in the NFL makes fucking $18 million.
And here's the rebuttal: 3 years in your, if the average career is 3 years, that
How much money do you think Tua is making this year? Look it up right now.
Probably
directly from the NFL.
up.
Directly from the NFL.
Yeah, he's on a rookie contract. How much money do you think he's making this year?
I say he's over $100 million.
No, he's not.
So,
No, he's not.
I guess that's not initial. Yeah, Tua
He's on
signed
a rookie
He signed a
contract.
4-year, $30 million contract, including
So on average, he's making $7 million.
including a $20 million signing bonus, 30 guaranteed, and average annual salary is $7 million. So I don't know how that.
Yeah, so you divide it, you
your
break it down.
Your agent gets
10% automatically right off the rip. Taxes, shit like that. It's like
But he's gonna but how long until they like year 2 or year 3 before he restructures and signs a $200 million deal?
I mean, what if he misses the
I mean, now
next
he's
6
injured.
or 7 games?
yeah.
Well, now you're providing a great
know what I
argument
mean?
as to like now the
What if he misses the next 6 or 7 games and he comes back and he didn't play the same way he played the first 3 weeks of the season?
Yeah, before I was going to say that if you only had a 3-year career, that just reflects you only have 3 years of combat in the NFL. So as much as damage as you're saying you've taken, the idea the NFL will take care of you for life. And yeah, you got paid whatever, but then now you're thinking about these kids are in high school, college, then get to the NFL. They probably had
100%.
10 years of brain damage, and this is where you get the worst of it. So
It's crazy, bro.
yeah,
And it's tough. And it's
abolish
like,
the NFL. We need to remove combat. Men need to get into offices, wear button-down
Listen,
shirts.
unfortunately, it's a part of the game,
No,
but it's
I
like
know,
I
know.
think these
just playing
people
devil's
should
advocate.
be protected, bro.
I
They
agree,
should
yeah.
be protected because, like you said, you could say UFC and all this shit. You get TKO'd where the ref could just fucking stop.
And they get a 10th, if not a 20th, 50th of what these.
Sure.
Once again, the idea that $30 million, and I understand that the sponsorships and the outside like money they're able to get isn't quantified back to the NFL, but also part of the situation is like Tua can go do that's just from the NFL 30 million brands and things you can do on the outside. You're set for life is my point.
Not all of them are.
Not all of them are.
Most a good fraction of them aren't. They're not.
My argument,
They're not.
My argument would be the same as middle class people, where it's like you're good for life. Like, no, I understand this, but if you make $300,000 a year for 3 years, like, and you're playing football, like, that's what else do you want from life other than you have to invest your money and now find another career you didn't make it in your. That'd be like telling a comedian, like, oh, you got to.
Listen, I'm not like I think
Yeah.
that's a different argument in a way, but it's like, and again, it's like
This guy never saw Friday Night Lights over.
Yeah.
here. You never watched movie Miles
it's
cry.
I just think it's
I
like
know, but that's
this is all I know, man. This is all I know.
100%.
But that's what makes greatness, and I understand that's like so exploitative that like whatever, but like, you know, I hear you. I definitely agree. Like, but you got to have this just grinding thing that produces the best player.
without a doubt, and I think
Yeah.
that ruthlessness is the reason a lot of guys get there in the first place. But as far as like it was uncomfortable for me to watch. You know what I
I
mean?
agree, yeah,
It's just like to seeing it do like, dude. I thought he was when I saw that hit. I was like, is he fucking
I thought
paralyzed?
he broke his finger at first. I'm
Bro,
like,
it
what
was-
the fuck is this? And then
I did too, because then I was like, and then you just keep seeing the replay. And real quick, before we get off of this subject, it's like everyone was shitting all over Amazon for constantly replaying the fucking injury. That should absolutely be replayed all the fucking time, because listen, as much as people don't like it, and it's part of the fucking game, unfortunately. You know what I mean? And it's gonna be this whole
Yeah.
thing is gonna be shoved down our fucking throats for it I mean, he's not playing this Sunday. He's, whatever the fuck it's gonna be. This concussion thing's not going. Again, it's the NFL. I said this. More shit's gonna pop up with the NFL. You know, and it's like classic NFL. When they need to stop talking about concussions, Deshaun Watson's gonna come back, and we're gonna start talking about sexual harassment.
Back to concussions. Back to concussions.
It's true.
I don't want to talk about the other thing. You know, like I'm not at risk of concussions. All right, you know what I'm saying? Like I don't want to talk about.